For over 500 days, Link Marines have been huddled in their trenches, waiting for things to change. And finally, we have seen that. Chainlink is now breaking up above the $10 level. We actually just touched prices today above $11, now trading around $10.20. This is not just any old pump. Chainlink is now the #1 performer of the top 100 cryptos, up nearly 40% in the past week. And for those of you that are new to my channel that have not been around for the past many years, we've been talking about Chainlink since it was at 50 cents. This is a video from November 13th, 2018. One of the only altcoins I ever mentioned on my channel back then, Chainlink. Not only that, we talked about it 3 weeks ago that Chainlink was looking solid, looking ready for entries. And now we have strong developments taking place on this chart. And there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot I want to discuss. So we're going to be talking about all of this and more in today's video. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing the price of Chainlink because it is the market leader right now. Over the past week, it has been leading this move. Now, really quick, just want to mention that Bitcoin is breaking above a lot of this horizontal resistance and even the downward sloping resistance line. And this is likely going to assist a lot of these altcoins, these top altcoins, in getting some recovery bounces. But Chainlink has front run the market here. We can see that Chainlink has been actually recovering for the past several weeks. And we have broken above the horizontal resistance, now exiting this sideways channel. So we've had fantastic levels of accumulation, and now we are starting to see the expansion. Now, I remember a lot of people were talking crap on Chainlink for going sideways, which I found very funny because while Chainlink was just going sideways, all of these people who were criticizing Chainlink, their favorite altcoins were going down 90%. So yeah, it's easy to talk crap on a coin that's just going sideways, but Chainlink actually has been outperforming the vast majority of the altcoin market because it's been going sideways, because it's just maintaining its price levels. And after this much sideways action, seeing this move right here, the only thing that I can call it is healthy. This is a healthy move. And to be fair, we've actually barely even broken above this resistance zone of the sideways channel, right? So we are making progress here, but there's a lot more progress that could be made. If we look at Chainlink, this is one of the more important things I want to mention. If we look at Chainlink from the weekly chart, take a look at your downward sloping resistance, your outermost macro downtrend line. From the peaks here, you mark up your resistance. What you get is you see that Chainlink is actually testing its macro resistance line right here, right now. And so this is very important, guys. A lot of people are wondering, oh, why is Chainlink rejecting over the past few hours? Well, it has just met a very pivotal point in its trend. It is now fighting, it is now challenging the macro downward sloping resistance line. And so this is something that you should have on your chart. This is log scale. This is something you should be watching because the price is likely going to be playing around with this macro trend line as resistance and then as support. And what do I mean by that? Well, if Chainlink does see, let's say, some rejection in the near term and we actually come down lower, down to like the $8 level, we're likely going to be seeing the price action play with this macro resistance before getting a breakout in the new year. This is a potential scenario. It's also possible that we see Bitcoin break out into a new high, giving Chainlink further momentum to actually make another higher high and move into a higher price target being hit, then rejecting back and using the macro resistance as new support. And this is why I'm saying this is something that you should be having on your chart because it's likely going to get a lot of interplay from the price. A lot of market participants are going to be using it as areas to exit or enter, support, resistance. This is huge, guys. This is a huge moment for Chainlink. This is a very important spot in terms of its macro trend. So keep an eye on this. So I know a lot of you guys probably have questions because a lot of people probably did not get in on this pump. Most likely, right? A lot of people are going to be asking me, Kev, I want to get Chainlink, but what's the right entry zone? Do I buy now? Do I wait? How high could Chainlink go in the bull market? What's your peak price prediction? Well, I'm going to try to keep things a little bit more tame and realistic in this next cycle rather than being an obnoxious YouTuber that just throws out huge numbers for clicks and views. But I am going to tell you where I think the price of Chainlink is going to ultimately go. And I'm also going to give you guys some details on entries and targets in the near term. Some of the people that caught this move, some of the people that got into this pump early on down here were in my Patreon. I actually made a price call on Chainlink a long time ago. Right around that $6.30 level, we were talking about entries on Chainlink. And a lot of my Patreon members are now sitting on 80% plus gains, and some of them even more having used leverage, though I don't recommend that, but people are making substantial profits right now from Chainlink. Join the Patreon. It's like 70% discount. It's dirt cheap right now. And very soon what I'm going to do is start a public portfolio that all of you guys are going to track, and we're going to build it from the ground up from here into the next bull market so you guys can follow the construction of a new portfolio from the beginning. Right? So if that's something you're interested in, join Patreon today and take advantage of these cheap prices. All right, so looking at Chainlink now in the weekly once again, people are going to be asking me, should I buy Chainlink now? Should I FOMO in or should I wait? Where are some good entries and what are your next targets? Well, in my Patreon video, just to mention, we have now hit our first target on October 1st after we had already entered at $6.30. So what's interesting is that we hit that target and that's where we're now seeing the resistance. So that was the first target, the macro resistance, and we pretty much nailed it, guys, in Patreon. So now looking at Chainlink on the weekly chart, the target zone that we had when we were sitting down here at that $6 level, we were looking for $10 to $11. That was the actual target based on this resistance. And that's exactly what we've hit, and that's where we've seen some resistance today. Now, of course, I'm a long-term believer in Chainlink, and I do not think that it's a wise idea to, not own Chainlink. I think that everyone should have some in their long-term portfolio. So when I start mentioning targets, that's not me saying you should be fully exiting at that price. It just could be something that you could base some trades on. But what are some good entries? For me, when I look for entries, I look for the candle body close zones. So if we look at Chainlink now on the weekly chart, the optimal entry zone, whether it's likely that we pull back or not, the optimal entry zone based on how I take entries, which is using these candle body close zones, I see wicks as discrepancies and I see candle body closes as being the more fair value, what the market actually settled on, the close, the open, right? Candle body closes, in my opinion, are a nice sweet spot for entries and exits. And so the ideal entry for Chainlink is, if we did get rejection, the ideal entry would be $8.80, and even more ideal as an entry, about $8.10, $8.12. Those are the areas that would be fantastic entries. Now, is it likely that we go down there? Who knows, right? I can't see the future, but this is where I would want to be entering if I had not entered yet. I would want to be getting in along these candle body close zones. Fair value at this point, having broken above resistance. If we were to come back and retest previous resistance as new support along these candle body close areas, that is where I would be entering, guys. $8.80, $8.10. That is the sweet spot for an entry. Now, with Bitcoin being so close to the breakout, it's kind of difficult for me to see this pullback happening soon, though you never know. Maybe Bitcoin doesn't break out, but it seems like it probably will. So in a scenario where Bitcoin pulls back rather than breaks out, this is where I'd be looking to enter. But if Bitcoin does break out and doesn't pull back, well, it's likely that Chainlink will see further momentum. And then we'd be ending up looking for our higher targets. The next zone of interest for me is in between this wick low and this candle body close zone right here, which is going to be coming in around $12.70 or $13.40 about. If Bitcoin gives Chainlink further momentum, then we'd be looking for a full break above our macro resistance. Then you would be looking for re-entry upon a retest of the macro resistance as new support, right? So we hit the target and we come back and you use this macro resistance as your entry line. If we do come back and retest it, that's the optimal area of entry. Just to give you guys a better idea of what I would be looking for had I not yet had an entry into Chainlink. And so I'm assuming a lot of people are still wondering, Kev, can you just give us a crazy bull market prediction? What is your prediction for Chainlink in terms of where it's ultimately going to go in a bull market? How high could we go? Well, the way that I see it, knowing crypto and knowing how crazy these bull markets get, and how much growth these coins see. Sometimes the growth that we get from coins is really just wildly overvalued, but that's why most altcoins drop 80-90%. If Bitcoin ends up going to, the high, 69,000, and then ends up going to six figures at some point, whether that's 120,000, whether that's 200,000. If that occurs, Chainlink is likely going to go to a triple-digit number. And so without using my bias and using the Fibonacci tool, what could we expect just going from your high to your low? Well, that means at least $83, but more likely anywhere from $132 to over $210. So $132 to $210 could be a peak bull market overvaluation target, followed by a major crash in price, just like we do every cycle for every coin. People have been demanding that I give them my bull market prediction for Chainlink, and so I'm just going to do it using Fibonacci. 130 to 200 seems like a pretty reasonable target considering that the all-time high was 50. From the all-time high, that's 150%, about 300%, right? So it's not all too crazy, but of course, from where we are now, that's 2,000% possibly, right? And so again, if Bitcoin goes to six figures, Chainlink can go to three figures easily, guys. This is crypto. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like, subscribe. Also join Patreon, guys. These prices will not last forever, and you can get in on some of my next altcoin picks. We got into Chainlink just weeks ago at $6.30 in Patreon, so don't miss the next one. Join today. I'll see you guys in the next video.